Good morning. The secret of success is ensuring that the outcome of everything you do be harmonious by acting always with a positive, harmonious attitude.
Good morning and welcome. Let's start our class today off with a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, beloved Master, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we bow at thy feet. We ask thy blessings on our lives as we dedicate ourselves ever more deeply to thy teachings, thy path. We open ourselves, we open our hearts to thee. Bless us as we open ourselves ever more deeply to thy presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We'll have a chant now, and then a reading, and then we'll hear from Swamiji, and then we'll continue on with our class. Welcome to everyone again.
Gioia, 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 sempre nuova gioia, 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 sempre nuova gioia. Gioia, 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 sempre nuova gioia, 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 sempre nuova gioia.
These are the words of Swami Kriyananda Ji on chanting. Today's topic is chanting is half the battle. Swamiji says, Master wrote his chants after spiritualizing them, and they have real power. On other people's chants that they've written, Swamiji says, some songs are chants that people at Ananda have written are in tune, but a lot of them aren't. And we have to keep in mind that the mere fact that somebody at Ananda writes a song doesn't make it Ananda music. Then on devotion versus emotion, Swamiji says, we need to awaken feeling, and that can be emotional. But the thing with emotion is that it goes outward. If you can take that awakened energy upward toward God, then it becomes devotion. The big difference between emotion and devotion is the direction of energy. If the energy goes up, it's toward devotion. And on drumming along with chanting, Master, when he chanted, Swamiji says, would have people play the tabla or mridanga drum. And Dr. Lewis, who was a Boston dentist, just couldn't relate to that kind of thing. The master said to him, get into it, doctor. It shakes the karma loose in the spine. It's important to note the difference between, for example, African music and Indian music. They both are very sophisticatedly rhythmic. But if you listen sensitively, you'll notice that African music and drumming is more outward and heavier, whereas Indian music and drumming lifts you upward. Then on whipping up the heart's feelings, Swamiji says, Master said one time in a Christmas meditation, whip up the heart's feelings. Some people, in the name of being yogis, they think that they should never be like that. But of course, we should be that way. In fact, in the essence of self-realization, there's a story about a disciple who went to Master and said, some of the other monks are saying that I'm too emotional in my chanting. Is it wrong to be emotional and to be outward in my expression? And Master answered, by no means is it wrong. It's fine. Roll on the floor with love for God. The thing is that the energy should be directed toward God. And therefore, the direction of it is toward calmness. After the heart's feelings are awakened, it's necessary to channel the energy upward in meditation into silence. Otherwise, you shout to God, you sing to God, you don't listen for his answer. What kind of conversation is that? It's essential for a proper use of the chanting of bhakti yoga. Essentially, to use bhakti yoga properly is to listen afterwards for the inner silence. Finally, Swamiji says, don't be so dry in chanting. Remember, I was thinking of one person who had a way of chanting the songs, which was so internal that by the time you reach the end of it, you were asleep. You've got to awaken the mind through chanting. Let's hear a couple of minutes of a talk by Swamiji on music now.
If you will listen to great pieces of music, you'll find that whereas a popular song may have its magnetism, it's touching you on a lower level and in lower chakras. Really great music. You listen to Bach's St. Matthew Passion, for example, and you know he had to be inspired to write it, because nobody can say, well, these notes produce inspiration, okay, so I'll do it that way. You know it can't be that way, and indeed it isn't. And indeed even this scientific investigation proved that it wasn't, that it never is, that there's something you can't do deliberately just by technique. But there is nevertheless something that happens, and yogis would know what it is. They get into the spine, they lift the energy up to a level that they want to touch people on, and then they offer this particular level of energy and consciousness up into the flow of melody. It's almost that simple. I know that it's not easy, but it is simple. And it becomes easy when you understand that simplicity. That you get into that flow, attune yourself to what you're trying to make happen, and then ask it to express itself musically, and it simply comes, and you wonder, well, gee, how did that happen? But it happened for you. You didn't have to do it. All you had to do was get in tune with it, and then there it was. So when we think about music and the chakras, we see two things important, equally important in a way. One is that the music takes you back into yourself and to that particular level of reaction that is appropriate to that music. That's why I am not merely displeased and offended personally by rock music. I militantly say don't listen to it, because it's not a matter of taste. It's a matter of actual influence. That this kind of music exerts a powerful influence on negative aspects of our consciousness. And whether you like it or not, that just is the truth. It stirs in a negative way, in a downward pulling way. It may indeed make you feel energized and feel good in certain ways, but the net result is that it's destructive. And it's bringing you onto a level of the chakric flow, if I can use such an adjective or expression, that is not, most certainly for anybody who's interested in somehow unfolding himself spiritually or as a whole human being, not wholesome. The beat is wrong. It's too heavy. It's too egotistical. It's too violent. It's too imposing yourself on other people and so on. And indeed, the kind of music that you listen to exerts a powerful influence on what you become as a person. If you can listen to music that thrills you, and there is such music, then you will find that in some way you're changing just by its influence. This is why chanting is so important.
Good morning, everyone. Again, it's so nice to greet you this morning and to talk about, I'll just be talking briefly, then we have questions and answers, but on chanting. At a certain point on the path, you realize that you're up against like a cement wall. You can't break through in your meditation. You're not feeling anything deeply within yourself, love or joy or peace. I'm reminded of when I started on the path, I learned TM, Transcendental Meditation, and I loved chanting a mantra mentally in my mind. But at a certain point, I realized I personally couldn't go further with it because my heart was closed. Chanting, why do we chant? We start opening up. And as you start opening up, you have to have a tool to open up. So naturally, the heart wants to open for a person who's a spiritual seeker. But if you don't have the tool to open, you won't open up very easily, or it'll take you a long time. Chanting is the tool. Now, this is an interesting thing because when you listen to Om, and I know many of you are on this path and you have the Om technique, there's so many sounds. They're wonderful sounds. They're the sounds of your being. They're the sounds of the chakras. They're just wonderful. You start listening to the different ones of them. And what do you hear in that? What you hear in that vibration, that sound, really, it's interesting, but that's what you want to hear in chanting. You're uplifted in the Om vibration as you listen to that sound. And those notes that Swamiji gave us for chanting Om at the chakras, they're in that sound of Om that you're hearing. Even if you don't know the Om technique, you close your ears and there's a wonderful sound there. Close at night or in the morning, any time of day. The chord of the waves of Om that Swamiji has given for our music and chanting, those notes are in the Om. I don't know if you realize that. I mean, I didn't realize it for a long time, but that sound that's in those notes at the chakras that we chant and the waves of Om, they're in the Om sound that you hear. Now, why would we want to chant if we're not attuning to that sound? That's the sound of the music of the spheres. So a deep chant has the Om sound in it. And it may not, I don't mean like the chant we just listened to was a wonderful chant. It has that sound in it. There could be others that are more, take you right into meditation. What I'm realizing is that I want to hear the chants that take me into the Om. And I want to play those chants that take me into the Om. Now, what chants are those? Master's chants and Swamiji's, for sure. Now, the others may or may not. And Swamiji played traditional, he had a few traditional Indian chants that he played and sang for us a lot. That's how we learned them. But he didn't play a whole lot. He mainly stuck with Master's chants because there's a certain uplifting vibration that's in those chants that's attuning you to your soul, to your highest nature, to God. So chanting, half the battle means you're getting your energy up to the heart. And then if you can chant deeply and then do meditation afterwards, then you open the heart and you lift that energy up halfway here. And then with meditation, as Swamiji said, you can let it go out, down and out by continually going into motion and all these things. Or you can take that power and just go whap and take it up to the spiritual eye and open up the higher chakras. So chanting isn't frivolous. I would, if I were you, get a harmonium, get some instrument and play it. If you can't play, then listen to the chants and chant along. There's so many chants that Swamiji Master wrote. So the why of chanting is to get in attunement with Om, which is God, and to be in that vibration. In Om, nothing can touch you. You begin to change dramatically from chanting. And your whole being changes. Your vibration changes, your magnetism changes, your spine, energy in your spine flows properly. Your face begins to be more filled with light. Your eyes begin to radiate light outward. Your voice changes. So this is the why of it. Now, what to chant, I went into Masters and Swamijis for the most part. And if you chant others that Himda Brahma, there's different ones Swamiji sang that you can chant. I think for most of us, if you listen to the chants Swamiji chanted, and some are Bengali, some are in Hindi on his recordings, you can chant those. Those are just beautiful. I mean, Master chant, he changed some of the, he translated into English some of the chants when he went to America. So those are the body of chants that we should focus on. If we're on this path, we want to get in tune with Master and our gurus, we should focus on those chants for the most part. Now, how to chant? Repeating over and over. You can chant for an hour, one chant. Your tears are just rolling down your face. You're just in tune, in touch. The door is opened up to Divine Mother and the Masters and Babaji. The door is flung open. And you can chant and chant until you feel a divine response in your heart. Now, that doesn't mean 2 minutes. I chant every day. Nothing's happening. It means get that harmonium or tanpura or whatever, a drum, beat it, whatever you're going to do, or get the music and chant along and sit down there and get the energy flowing, and you'll find what a wonderful tool. You can go for hours. And let me tell you a secret, then you can meditate better. So if you get to the point, I just can't sit here any longer, I'm just chant. And then you'll go afterwards, wow, what was I thinking? I can sit here much longer. So that's how to chant. And Swamiji showed us, he chanted on one recording on how to meditate. He was teaching people to teach how to meditate. And this segment was on chanting. He says, now I'll show you how to chant. And he started chanting, Door of My Heart. And I wasn't 2 lines. And he just could barely sing anymore. He was just so in his heart, truly there. And Swamiji's later years, he could barely chant. You know, he was just so in God consciousness. And so that's where you want to be. You don't want to just, you know, just I've tried this, I've tried that, try this, like you're learning the piano or something. You take one chant, and Master says spiritualize it yourself. Now he spiritualized these chants. That's why I was reading that. Until, I mean, he chanted over and over and over till he felt the response of God. Swamiji did much the same. And Master said, you do it. Take a chant and spiritualize it yourself. And every time you chant that, the door is wide open. Door of my heart open wide, I keep for thee. And most of the time the door is cracked, you know, and then, you know, then it's open, then it's closed back. So chanting gets your heart open. Once you're open and receptive, wow, what a difference in your meditation. Let me tell you, I'm trying to inspire you to chant. It's a completely different world. That's why Master told Swamiji, you're going to have a long, dry path until you open your heart. Swamiji got a harmonium. He learned the chants. He prayed for devotion, and it was completely changed. Finally, when to chant? You know my answer. All the time, all the time. Always have a song for God going in your heart. If you're doing it in your mind, like japa, or singing in the house while you're doing different things, or of course, chanting before meditation, chanting after meditation, chanting at the kirtan. Try to chant something every day, even if it's mental, one of our chants. You'll find that, wow, you start changing from inside out. And let me just tell you one last tip. It's not hard to do. As you chant, you just realize, wow, look, I'm just a different person. My whole energy is different. I'm not as worried. I'm not fearful. I'm not, my energy's not down. I feel happier. I feel more joyful. So now I'd like to go into the questions for today. We might go a little bit over today. Let's see what we have. So Nitindra, if you could join me. Yeah, great.
Sure, Janaji. We do have a lot of questions.
Okay, so if you need to leave right at 8:30, please go as you need to, but I'll try to answer all these today.
Thank you, Janaji. So the first question is, what is the purpose of group chanting?
That's a good question. So in the group, now I'm missing group chanting. Now we've done some online, but if you're sitting in the same room with the Guru Bhai, one's got the kirtals, one's got the drum, the tabla going, and you know, everybody else is chanting along. Wow, what happens? There's a big magnet that forms, and you get more inspired. You ride a big wave instead of being at home chanting alone. Now, there's a time for that. There's time for both. But if you're in a kirtan, you just get swept into the chant, into the inspiration, into the joy, into the depth, and to the stillness, meaning you get help in chanting in a group. Okay, next question.
You touched upon this, but the question is, can we chant other chants beside masters and Swamis?
Yeah, I think I did answer that. Yes, but I would say for a new person on the path, stick with these masters and Swamijis. I'm telling you from my own experience, when I first came on the path, Swamiji had not written all these chants. We didn't have chants from Swamiji. We have masters' chants, and I was musical, so to speak, and I would just play any chant, oh, I like that. And then we, at Ananda, we played all the Indian bhajans. You just play them over and over and over, and I remember getting so drawn into certain chants, I just could hardly come out of them. But, one thing, afterwards, I didn't feel so good. That was the difference. When I chanted Masters and Swamijis, what happened in the other ones, I got emotional. And I just start calling out the names of the gods, and just, then you start jumping up and down. I didn't jump up and down, but you know how it goes. And I just, it wasn't my vibration. That's the thing. So if you're new, you need this vibration. If you've been on the path long enough and you're solid, yes, you can try to chant other ones and just see how you feel afterwards. I mean, we chant traditional ones no matter what. And Hey Bhagavan and Hymn to Brahman, different ones. But be careful is all I'm saying. Don't think it's just, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Okay, next.
Next is really coming from my heart. What if I don't have a good voice?
But you do have a good voice. I'm listening to your voice right now. But the voice has to match the instrument. Now that's the trick. Because I remember one of the meditation group leaders down in Mumbai, we were having a meditation teacher training, and I asked anybody if they could play the harmonium. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So he started playing. I think it was Door of My Heart. He started playing, but his voice was nowhere near the notes. It was way off, and he had no idea. And I said, only problem is you have to match the voice with the note. And that takes some practice. We have classes through a Gurgaon with Jayita. Maybe there are others who do it, but I know Jayita's giving some chanting, how to play the harmonium. She has a lovely voice, and I'm sure she'd be happy to help you. It doesn't take a lot. I know some people in Gurgaon who couldn't sing, and now they're singing. So work on it. Listen to a song of Swamiji's and try to sing a chant. Try to sing the same notes. And it just takes some time. Okay. But you can't get out of it because you think you don't have a good voice.
A related question is that I love to chant, and I also feel inwardly when I'm chanting. I often have tears in my eyes when I chant. I go deep. But when others hear, as you're saying, they say that it is not right. So how do you correlate these two technical things versus what's happening?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. I would say one thing is, this isn't the only answer, so don't get me wrong. One thing is chant alone. So chant alone to get your confidence and get the notes, get better at it. You get better if you're chanting along with the music. The other thing is, this isn't the whole answer, but chant quietly. So chant alone, chant quietly, and work up to louder as you feel confident that you're singing properly. So there's also whisper chanting. I mean, and then sometimes just sit in the back of the room and just blare, just sing out with joy. So you have to figure it out. But if a person is way out of tune, and I've sung in many of the Ananda choirs, it goes off. The whole thing, it goes off. So better to just take your time and work into singing loudly. Even if you have a good voice, why show off your voice? Some people show off their voice. I remember a person at Ananda who was a wonderful singer and beautiful voice, more beautiful than anybody in the community. But she just sort of got into ego a little bit, and she lost her voice for some time. Then it came back, and then she worked with it better. So even if you have a good voice, you don't want chanting is not about you and your voice. Chanting is a conversation between you and God, you and Guru. And that conversation can be soft, it could be a whisper, sometimes it's loud. You start off with chanting typically loudly. I should have said this earlier, then you slowly get quieter, and it's natural, more and more quiet, whisper chanting and then mental chanting. Yeah. Okay.
There's a reminder to everyone that you can ask questions on chat as well. Meanwhile, I'll take the next question, which is, do I need to learn the harmonium to chant? If so, how can I learn?
Yeah, I think I answered. You can learn through Gurgaon. There's a harmonium class, isn't it, in Natindra?
Yes, Dhanaji, Sunday 12 to 1, Jarita leads those.
So you can just talk with people in Gurgaon. But I would say, if you can, if is not it, when you can, learn it. And Swamiji even told all the acharyas at Ananda years back, he said, all of you should learn the harmonium and play your own chants at the satsangs. Don't get somebody else pulled in there or group to chant for you. He said, you need to do that yourself. And then the vibration goes out. It's a blessing to chant together and for you to tune into the congregation as well. So, and I know Jayaji, Jyotishji, I mean, they learned chants. They may have 3 or 4 or 5, but they did it and they know those chants. So there's no excuse. No, I don't chant, you know. All the acharyas at Ananda chant. So it's something you have to learn. And it wasn't easy for them, but they did it. And they have beautiful voices. So,
Thank
okay,
you.
next.
This is a live question. Will
Okay.
you recommend any particular chant or chants that help you to withdraw the energy, become calm for meditation?
What was the first part of that? Just recommend. Can you recommend?
Any particular chants that help to withdraw the energy and become calm for meditation?
Door of my heart, listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Mother, I give thee my soul call. Engrossed is the bee of my mind. Lord, I am thine, be thou mine. This is one beautiful one. Thou art my life, thou art my love. Jai Guru, in the temple of silence. I mean, the list just goes on and on. I mean, Swamiji, I don't know how many chants exactly he wrote, but 400 pieces of music, and some of them chants. That's a lot, and all masters chants. And yeah, so those are some I'd recommend. And take 1 or 2 and work with it for a week. Work with them for a week, then you may take another 1 or 2. Work with those for a week. There's a time in one sadhana where you're into chanting, and you can hardly leave that harmonium. So just go for it. I mean, winter time is the best time. Chant more, meditate more, watch TV less. How about that?
Thank you, Dhanaji. We have 2 more questions. We are slightly up on time, but
Okay.
the first one is, I sometimes find myself in tears during chanting. Is that normal?
As far as I know, it's normal. I shed many tears chanting. I mean, I remember hearing Swamiji saying recently on a talk, when I listen to this music, he was talking about a piece of music. He said, I feel like crying. And he wrote the music. So he probably was in tears as he wrote the music. So, yeah, I mean, as the heart opens, you naturally, you feel a longing. If you're longing for God, many times tears will come. I mean, I've heard it from many people. And I mean, what are people crying for it otherwise? Money, a house, crying for their car, you know? Why not cry for God? It's a wonderful thing. And then meditate and lift it up. Don't just let it go on crying for days. Oh, you know, people just keep going. But to go deep into that, when the heart's open, then do your kriya. Wow. Then you're it's like you've been there with the shovel digging through the chanting and your heart opening up. Finally, you can plant that flower or that seed or whatever. And is that going to grow? Wow. It's just going to come right up. And so I I can't encourage you enough to really get started with chanting. And just, if you can't meditate that well, it's okay. Chant more, then you can meditate better. Don't just, I mean, I tried all these things. I tried, I'm just going to meditate. That didn't work. I'm just going to chant. That didn't work. You put both together, it's a formula. It works beautifully. Okay.
We have two live questions, Janji. The first,
Okay, this is great.
yeah, the first is, why are the same words repeated again and again during chanting?
Acha, maybe because people don't hear them. I mean, why does a parent tell their child the same thing over and over and over? The child doesn't hear it. And so I think for us, it's not that God doesn't hear, but we have to be able to implant those words, not only just the words, the sound, not only the sound, but the vibration in our consciousness. And as you do that, though, it's like there's chant affirmations. I want only thee, Lord, thee, only thee. And it's a different rhythm, different notes, but the same thing over and over is affirming. This is what I want in my life. Other chants are more devotional. And gross is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet. Divine Mother, Divine Mother. Beautiful, but who doesn't want to say Divine Mother's name over and over? Jai Guru Jai. Who doesn't want to say Jai Guru? I mean, there's victory, victory to the Guru. And this is one that's getting you going on the path. Victory, victory to God and Guru. I'm going for it on the path. If you just said once and then you start with other things, it's not as powerful. So those words are spiritualized and they are like a mantra and they have power. The power of those words and the sounds, the music together is changing your consciousness. And if you want to sing it more short, that's fine. But I find people get chanting the same chant for an hour. Master had, was it in Carnegie Hall? People chanting, "Oh God, beautiful." That has actually quite a few words. An hour and a half, the same words over and over. People went into ecstasy. Many people were healed from that vibration that came from those words. So think of the chant like a mantra. There's power in those words that's changing your consciousness. Okay?
The next is, Dhyanji, how does clapping or dancing along with chanting, will it bring about a more blissful experience?
Yeah, these are good questions. Yeah. Clapping like that. So you clap along with the chant, and what I feel from chanting is, for one, it wakes your own energy up. I play kirtals to do the same because it wakes the energy, but also the heart. And also chanting, having the hands. Now, I don't know this, but I know the fingers and the hands are connected in with the brain. So it may be breaking up your brain cells and also breaking up. This is what I think. The drum, the kirtals, the chanting, it's all breaking up those thoughts in the mind that are worrisome, I'm fearful, I'm doubtful, or even just the rolling thoughts that are going on. You start chanting, whoa, you forget all those thoughts. So I've seen people in a chant session, they're just not participating. I want only thee, they're not doing anything. You're not getting it. The more you put in, the more you get out. So if you get into it, it's kind of like a drumming sound. And Swamiji corrected you with many things. He corrected me on clapping. so it's not just a clapping. You're going, he said, no, it's like this. He said, that's the way to chant, to clap. And kirtal is the same. Don't just bang, bang, bang in the drum, bang, bang, bang. There's a certain rhythm. You get into it, and it's loosening the karma in the spine, as Master said about I was reading that about drumming. So yes, is that the whole question? I mean, the clapping does help to get you more into it, to change your energy, I think is purifying, uplifting. Was there another part to that question?
It had a question on dancing as well.
Acha, dance, oh yes. Ramakrishna would dance, and Master would sway. That's all I've ever heard. I never saw Swamiji dancing. Never. He was much more inward. I mean, he was beyond all that, really, honestly. Here again, it depends. We don't really dance at Ananda. I mean, it's not really a part of it. But I feel myself swaying, and I think at a certain point you just keep going till you start levitating. I mean, that's where you want to go up. You don't want to go side to side. And so, but I have felt this uplifting feeling. That's why the hands go up. You feel this energy upward. So I think you have to feel that out in your privacy of your own home. Do what you need to do. It's up to you. But it's not like we're at a kirtan, everybody's up dancing, and then you get a partner, and everybody's dancing. Our path is much more inward. And you know why? Because you just keep going out, 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 out. And I've been at sessions where there was, in fact, in Assisi, a different group came to Ananda, Assisi, and they were dancing, and they had everybody jumping up and down. And, we've done a lot of strange things, and we were jumping up and down, but, afterwards I said, I just don't feel good. You judge it by how you feel afterwards. And if it just didn't feel in tune with Master. So let that be the judge. Okay, last question.
Yes, Dhananji, absolutely last. It is, I am intellectual. Can't I find God without chanting?
You can try. Give it a try. I think you can try. But Master told Swamiji, you're going to have a long, dry path without devotion. So you can try. But if you could be in the slow lane, just thinking about analyzing these things, or you can use the gifts, the tools of yoga that take you in the fast lane and get you there more quickly. So Swamiji was very intellectual. Don't be mistaken. But his guru corrected him. And Swamiji, after that, he said, I'm not going to go this slow way. He started chanting, and his voice was beautiful. He changed himself, and he would love singing. He used to love singing and chanting. Those who knew him knew that, but know that. But I think you can try, but I'm not an intellectual person, and I'm very open and bhakti and devotional. Even so, it's not easy to go deep. So you can just keep trying and hitting your head up against the wall, or you can say, and I feel for myself, music is helping me to break down the wall. Now, you can figure it out for yourself. But I think the fact that Master said this, and Swamiji demonstrated it, and we in our own lives face this big wall that we can't get through in meditation, I would say, give it a try. Chanting, I feel, I can affirm also, is half the battle. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day.
Oh.